2 minutes. No.
2 seconds.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greencow Show.
Good morning. I'm just trying to find us. Okay, There we are.
I'm sure we're out
No,
there
well,
somewhere.
I'm sure I'm out here somewhere. Yeah. No, we have not. We have not popped up on anybody's notifications yet. Just so you know. So. We've got one person watching, and I'm assuming that's Mark. So good morning,
Good
Mark.
morning, Mark.
Thanks for being here. How are you today? Let us know if you've got anything good going on. If you're watching on the replay, leave us a hashtag replay. Tell us what stuff you've got happening in your life today. Mark
First
always
comment.
wins our first comment. Well, not always. You got beaten by Nicole a couple of times. So Mark often wins our first comment award. And yeah. So cool. Let us know what's going on with you guys. If you're watching on the replay, leave comments.
Is this a coffee morning?
It is a coffee. Every morning is a coffee morning.
Every morning?
Every morning, except for yesterday, which was kind of rough. Because we had to get to that walk thing that we did by 9, and yeah, there was some challenge with getting coffee. So yes, I have my Panera. I'm using the subscription. I'm doing a really good job. I did go to Big B Coffee yesterday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I was struggling to make it.
So do you get in trouble from Panera or?
Did I get trouble from Panera? Well, sometimes they don't know my phone number. I have to repeat it like 6 times. I think maybe I just don't speak clearly. So good morning. I see multiple people are watching. Say hi. Let us know that you're here.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it was tough being here on Friday without Miranda.
But I actually didn't even see the thing.
She was pretty excited about it, as you can tell.
No, I've been like going nonstop since that time. We got back on Friday. Hey, Dawn.
Morning, Dawn.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. We went to Six Flags with the kids. I stayed there for 3 days. And we got back on Friday night. And then Saturday, I had work with a client. And then Sunday, the kids and I did a 5K walk, and the kids did a half-mile run. And then we went to Carol's house and met her new baby kittens. So and then we stopped at Garwood Orchards on the way back because that was the only way I was getting them away from the kittens, was to promise that there would be like some sort of candy in the future. So yeah.
Okay then.
So we've been running nonstop, but
this must be Carol then.
Yeah, that must be Carol that has no sound. So I don't know. I think most other people can hear us, but I see 7 people are watching and only 3 have said hi. So say hi. Let us know that you're here. You can hit the little heart button.
Yeah, hit the little heart button.
Hit the like button. Can let us know that you're here. Let us know what's going on. Somebody's happy that I'm back.
Sorry about that.
Well, here's the deal, guys. I was going to try to jump in live from the hotel where we were, but like I was the only adult to 4 children. One of my kids brought a friend, and it just wasn't happening. Like each one of these 4 kids had a different idea of what they wanted to do. And that was real fun. So it's like, it just wasn't happening. I was like, I promise you, if I plan to do this is not going to work. So yeah, next time I'm bringing a babysitter. So I don't know. Somebody thinks you're cool. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, we just see you as Facebook user,
right? You're probably down here. So we'll see if we can see something here. No, not quite. All right. It's all right. So I think that's Yvonne, who says she's on her way to hike Zion National Park, which is a bucket list item.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Does everybody have bucket lists? I want to hear the rest of this comment, but yeah. We should talk about bucket lists.
We should, and we will, and that would be a cool topic. But she also said, I cannot wait to complete this bucket list. Is simple. I can do anything I put my mind to. Say a prayer for me. So that's really cool. So I really don't want to freak you out, Yvonne. I really don't. But I got to show you guys this picture that was in one of my hiking groups this weekend. I don't know if you all will be able to see it. Oh, it's really out of focus.
Yeah, focus is way back here somewhere.
I don't know. Well, I'll try to post it later as a comment, but it's this it's a snake, which I like to call a nope rope. That's my nickname for snakes. It's a nope rope, and it's eating a fish. And it was at taken in Monticello and one of the trails in Monticello, and it was a big snake. And I'm not a fan. And so I sent that picture to my friend.
Can you qualify for us a big snake?
It was, I mean,
big.
No, it looked like this because you can't really see, but you can kind of see that it's back still in the rocks. I'll have to send the picture to you guys. But yeah, I don't know. I sent the picture to my friend, and he said, "Please tell me that's in the zoo." Like, nah. The biggest one, they do tend to come in my yard. It's like Wind of the Willows or something in my yard. So we have we get mice and rats a lot hanging out in the field next door. And I've had snakes and chipmunks and all kinds of things. But the biggest one I've encountered in my yard has been like maybe that big, but that's even too much of a nope rope for me. I'm not a snake fan. So, yeah. Okay.
What are we going to talk about today?
Well, somebody had said they had a cradle list before they had kids. That's kind of a cool idea.
A cradle list.
So kids equal death to your future plans. Just makes it more complicated, I would say. I do a fair amount of stuff. Some with kids. Like when we did that walk yesterday, I had one that was so laggy. But I'm going to buy a wagon. We'll be good. I've got pictures of me doing photography with kids strapped to me. I just found a picture of when Lily was a baby and we were hiking in the Indiana dunes with a group and stuff like that. So I don't know, you can make it.
Okay, then.
Yeah, so today we're talking about endurance.
Endurance.
So let us know what you think when that word comes to mind. What do you think when that word comes to mind? You guys can let us know too in the comments. All of you guys.
Endurance. It reminds me of long physical activity. Like 300-mile sailboat races and things like that.
That sounds scary.
It's not scary, but it does
find any nope ropes in the water?
No.
Good. All right. Well, I don't think it just has to be physical activity. One of the examples that I used was the pandemic, I think. It's I left a couple definitions on there. One was the ability to sustain prolonged stressful effort or activity. And the other was the fact or power of enduring an unpleasant or difficult process or situation without giving way. One thing I didn't like about that definition is it says a version of the word in the definition, which drives me nuts. But the definition of endurance, and it says enduring. Oh, I don't like that. No fun. It's like the English teacher. English teacher in me is like, please don't do that.
But
choose a different word.
What else I don't like about the Oxford language one is it identifies specifically an unpleasant or difficult process or situation.
Well, I think that's true.
It can be a pleasant situation and still require endurance.
All the definitions I found have suggested that endurance is withstanding an unpleasant situation.
No, they're wrong.
Don't you guys love that? How he just decides they're wrong. Doesn't matter what the experts say. You know who's right? Lee.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about you.
Okay, everybody give us an example of a situation requiring endurance that was pleasant.
No. I honestly think the point of this for me is the idea of not giving up, like Dawn said, which is good, when there's a difficult time. And that's kind of what I put in the description, is that everybody experiences difficult times. Sometimes, just like you said, with prolonged physical activity, sometimes those are self-induced. So sometimes there are things that we endure that we choose to endure. For example, physical activity because it's going to make us healthier. Choosing not to, one of the things I had on there was choosing to forego certain things so you can save money. That's another example.
So you did a 5K this weekend.
Well, yeah.
Did that require some endurance?
I really, honestly, for me, not so much, but dealing with it with the kids, yes. So there you go. Again. Yeah. And then sometimes there are other things that we choose to endure. So another example I put in there is like you might work for a long time to achieve or like long hours, or because you're trying to achieve a specific thing. Those are all self-induced things that we have to use endurance for, but there are other things that happen. And my example was the pandemic, which that was really unforeseen. And the idea of not giving up, or kind of the idea that there is an end in sight, and at the end there's going to be something positive, instead of just being so focused on the hardships. So the idea of being continuing to withstand those things, and not giving up, essentially. That's what it is to me. But I think we have some. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, Brandon. Good morning, everybody
Hey,
who's here that I can't see your names. So Mark says endurance has more of a perseverance feel than a determination feel. Endurance has a feeling of overcoming an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you have endurance without opposition? Well, I guess you have to define opposition, don't you? I mean, it could be just something that is difficult. It's physically difficult. And when I think of endurance, my mind just goes to adventure.
Right. Well, I think that's what Brandon says there too. In like some, there is the component of it's something that's difficult, but it's enjoyable in some situations, so that's, I think, what you're kind of talking about too, maybe. Yes or no?
Sort of,
kind of.
Yeah, sort of, kind of.
But I can see that. I can understand that. I think too, endurance is needed when it's a difficult situation that there's not really a pleasant aspect to it. So I think, like with Brandon's example and with your example with
Hey, Matt,
adventure, it's kind of like it's difficult, but there's a positive element to it that outweighs the difficulty. I think there are some things you have to endure that it's hard. I mean, there's always a lesson in it, but maybe it's really hard to see that at the moment.
Okay, well, that thought is kind of parallel to what Matt said. Even if you're not enjoying your current state, having to utilize endurance, could you say that the end result afterwards is always worth it? Well, I don't know about the word always there. I try to limit my superlatives. I would say often.
Mm-hmm. I would say if you choose endurance, but here's the thing. I guess I'd say if you choose endurance, that choice, it's always better than giving up. I would say.
There's rarely a good reason for giving up unless it was a bad idea to begin with.
Well, I mean, and oftentimes I see that like changing paths, okay? Making an alteration to your chosen, how you were doing the thing. But just giving up, just saying I'm done, everything sucks.
Not usually the best.
Not generally the best thing. But I would say, when you said, because Mark said, what's the anti-value to endurance? Burnout. And I would say that there are some people who choose difficulty and call it endurance, and that's not good. So some people who choose to continue to, you're working more than you need to work. You're doing things that you don't need to do. You're causing a difficult situation that's not positive, but you're calling it endurance. And that's not a
People
positive.
do that?
Yeah, people do that all the time. People make life more difficult for themselves.
Don't do that.
Your oversimplification is showing again. Quote for the day: just don't do that. That's not Nike. That's anti-Nike. Mark you with your anti-virtues or whatever over there. There you go. But I do think that that's true. I think you have to be careful. So you've read the whole Angela Duckworth thing and the grit and all of that.
Yeah.
It's the TED Talk. And there have been some people who have, so generally you guys have, that was really popular years ago, and it's still pretty, sounds like parenting again. Matt says, I give up, everything sucks. There are definitely those moments. Like, just call the babysitter, I'm out. No, but the Angela Duckworth thing with grit, you guys have probably seen it. If you've seen it and have something to say about it, leave it in the comments. That was pretty popular a few years ago. Basically, where she did a study and said that the thing that set successful people apart from people who are not successful is grit, which she kind of basically described as sticking with it.
Mm-hmm.
And being
Sounds
able
like endurance.
being able to withstand difficult things. Now, there have been people who have debated, her study as maybe not quite as scientific as it's billed to be, and then possibly a little bit of oversimplified, which I could see. But the general idea, I think, is, pretty standard. So that's a positive. And I think that an important element to that is to understand that success isn't fast usually. Like, it requires this endurance to get there. But I definitely think there are people who see that kind of stuff and make their lives more difficult and call it endurance when it's really just them making their lives more difficult.
And whoever started that idea of overnight success?
Somebody in
by overnight they mean 5 years plus.
somebody on the back of a wagon selling Jim's Success Tonic in the 1700s, I would suspect.
So, Mark, when I was in corporate America, one of my mentors taught me about opposition. Not every obstacle needs to be pushed through. Sometimes we need other options. When facing a problem, we can ask ourselves, should I go over, under, around, or through this? Good comment.
Isn't there a song about that?
I don't know.
If
there's a song about that, Mark's going to know it, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a song about that. It's a band that not a lot of people would know, but they're a 90s band. And they did some songs that you would attribute to other bands, but it was actually them. But I can't remember who it is. OAR or something like that, I think. Anyway, 90s band.
I don't know about that.
Mark, you know what I'm talking about. Come on.
Well, it's a good comment because it really is true. Sometimes you don't know whether or not you need to go over, under, around, or through something.
Sure.
And that requires a little bit of thought.
Right.
And I'm a big advocate for spending some time thinking about what you're really going through and thinking about what the options might be.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes calling up a mentor to help define things.
I would like to sell you this Greencow success milk out of my car. Please don't do that. I like it. Matt's already trademarked that. But I think there is a point to the fact that we don't necessarily have to endure everything. We don't have to go through everything. We don't have to choose the most difficult path. Some people think that just because I'm having they almost celebrate that they're having a difficult time with everything. And that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Like, I have to suffer. I used to be like that. Like, I have to suffer. And, the fact that I'm suffering shows that I'm doing something right, or there's something positive to that, when that's not true. I mean, there is value in endurance. We all have difficult things we're going to go through. Some of those that we choose, like we mentioned before, some of the physical stuff, sometimes other things we choose to make ourselves better people or to accomplish a certain goal, sometimes unforeseen. You know, I became a single parent 3 months before the entire world, including school, shut down. I didn't foresee that. Kind of sucked. But I mean, there are those things we're all going to have to go through that, but it doesn't make sense to manufacture difficult things. And I do think that there's that people will take the difficult road. People will take the hard road because they think, I just have to suffer with this. It has to be difficult.
Well, I don't know. I'm still stuck on endurance not being a negative thing because I associate it with adventure.
Okay.
And yes, I mean, I've had lots of great adventures that required endurance, and that's the way I think about it. I try not to
Well, I
make
don't think
decisions.
endurance is a negative thing. I think endurance means
Let's see. Merriam-Webster says, no, it's the
ability
Oxford,
to sustain
an unpleasant or difficult process. It does say or difficult.
Difficult, right.
So I guess that kind of covers the positive stuff that you choose to do just because it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually a growth step.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree with you there. I don't think if there's no element of difficulty to it, endurance doesn't make sense. I'm not going to go endure my pedicure. I think there's a different word you might choose there, unless you really, really dislike that, which for some people it might be.
Okay, everybody, weigh in on that one.
No, but yeah, I do agree with you that there's got to be some element of difficulty for endurance to be the right word. And like I said before, sometimes we endure things that we choose because they're difficult, and there's an element of fun to that. Just like, yeah, Mark says endure versus enjoy, right? And I think we can enjoy endurance as well. I think you can do that. Just like Brandon said before, for those fitness people who are doing things for fitness similar to adventure, there's an element of difficulty to it, but you're enjoying that as well. Then there are some times when we have to choose endurance for things that it's not. I mean, that element of enjoyment isn't there for us at the moment. It just feels hard.
Yeah.
And but choosing endurance is the right step, unless, like Mark said, it's something you're supposed to go around. So he said, like I said, sometimes endurance can be difficult. If you're continuing to push through something, you're supposed to go around, which is true. I mean, continuing to do something you're not supposed to do, continuing to, try to.
Habits can be hard to break,
Yeah, well, that's true.
I'm sure that happens a lot. People are enduring things that they probably shouldn't be enduring, but that's what they do.
Yeah. Right. So it can kind of be difficult to tell the difference, but
and by the way, 27 days doesn't break a habit.
Did you try it?
Several times.
Okay.
It's more like several hundred.
7 million days.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so Brandon says you can choose to go to the gym or not. Actually showing up is important. The key to actually doing the exercise and pushing yourself to the next step. So that's where, endurance becomes something you have to choose. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. There are sometimes we're thrown into a difficult situation and we have to choose to either give up and do nothing and just kind of wilt, or we have to choose to work through it or find another way around it. There are situations like Brandon's talking about here where you need that endurance. Otherwise, you're just not going to do it. Nobody's, throwing you in the middle of the gym and saying, work out or you don't leave, although that might be an interesting business concept. All the doors are locked. You have to do these things before we give you the combo. It's nice. But it's like escape room plus gym. Come on, somebody tell me I'm onto this right now. Max going and trademarking this concept as we speak. They sell Greencow Success milk in the vending machine. Right, it says it's called a personal trainer. Yeah. But I think it's
Doesn't take
important.
a lot to set you off, does it?
Outside this music. But I do think that there is a big difference between being thrown in the middle of a situation and having to choose endurance or not, like the pandemic was for many people. Not everyone,
a lot of people.
but for most people, many people, I would say most people had some kind of major upset. And you had to choose whether to endure it and keep going or to just kind of give up and sit on the couch. And and then the difference between that and, choosing endurance as a tool to improve yourself in some way.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that part of it most.
All right.
Okay, Matt, I can't answer this. I thought I'd come up with something cute, but what's the definition of unlawful detainment? I don't know. It's kind of like I have to be here for this.
Hey, that isn't very nice. He flinches. He thinks I'm going to smack him. Did you see this? Nice. All right. So Brandon says he's a former Marine and drill instructors help you to endure. Yeah. So what about limits to endurance?
Limits to endurance.
And how do we know those? And how do we think about them? And what do we do when we think we've reached one? I mean, are there limits to endurance? Can you?
Well, if you get to the point of, physical failure, I mean, certainly that's a limit. But outside of that, there could be emotional failure too.
Right.
I mean, that's certainly a limit as well.
Well, that's one of the things that Brandon says, that drill instructors help you endure. I would think that, that's maybe something that you could learn too, or we all have to learn what our limits are. And I think you could stretch them as well. Okay. Mark, I assure you that he is not forced to be here. You can leave at your own will. Oh my goodness. Now everybody thinks that, come on. All right. See, I have to endure this. All right.
Okay, you can get points for that one.
So, but I think that this is something that maybe, you said it's beneficial for us to think. And that's something that so many of us just don't do. And I think that thinking about endurance when you're facing a difficult situation is beneficial, both in thinking about what are some ways that I can increase my endurance. So Brandon, as the drill sergeant, aren't there things you can do physically to increase your endurance? Like, aren't there certain, techniques that you can do to be able to withstand more things?
Sure.
I would think that would be something you could think about. And then also
in all the different areas too, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual or whatever. And I think that you can push the limits in all those areas a little bit.
Yeah. Because I know with me, one of the big things is dealing with the kids and all their challenges is definitely something that there is an element of enjoyment there, but there also is a lot of challenge, and that's something that I have to endure. And there are things that I know that I have to do to be able to be the best person I can be in that situation. So so that's one of the things that I think when we're thinking about endurance, thinking about what so Brandon says training, obviously those are some of the things that we think about how to increase that or what your limits are. But then I also think what Mark says about, is this something I need to endure, is something that you can be thoughtful about as well. Is this really something that I need right now that I'm supposed to be doing? Is there another way around it? Am I
or over or under?
All the prepositions.
Oh,
But is it something that, sometimes we get really stubborn too, and so we think that I have to do this just to do it. Like, it's difficult and it's taking time and it's not maybe the best thing, but I'm stubborn, so I have to do this just to do it. So you're putting yourself in a difficult situation and you're refusing to budge because you're stubborn. And I know I've done that a lot with, that's kind of me and my like difficulty taking breaks. Like, I'm going to do this now. You keep doing it and we'll sit here till it's done. And it probably would have been better for me to just say, I need to take a break, but I choose to be stubborn sometimes and endure something I probably didn't need to, because usually after I take a break, I finish the thing in about 5 minutes, where I could sit in front of a computer for an hour when I'm tired and frustrated and feeling uncreative.
Yeah, I think that's something that most people experience, and yeah, you really do need to think in order to handle that one.
Yeah.
It's just, and it seems like you're getting better at that. So that's
I am getting better at that. And yeah. So this is another thing too, is I think one of the things we can be reflective of in this topic is, we've talked before about celebrating our successes and also just kind of recognizing them. And so I recently did some work where I went back and looked at where I was a year ago and some of the changes that I've made, like financially and physically and just in how I do things. And I noticed a lot of, I had made some really big changes in just a year. And so I think, going back to, sometimes we tend to try to endure things we don't have to. So sometimes we focus on the negative. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh man, I'm still stuck in this thing here. I'm still, struggling with that. Instead of look at all the progress I've made over the last year. Yeah. And that's been huge. And like, if I keep doing that, I'm definitely going to get to a good place. And remembering that success takes time. So I think that's a pivotal piece to this. So in certain aspects, to increase your endurance, you need to look at the wins.
Yes.
You need to look at where you were versus where you are. Because if you never look at that, it's easy to always feel like you're in the middle.
Hopefully that's a good thing.
Right. Well, if it's not, then it gives you the chance to say, do I need to be going around this? Is this not the right, path that I'm taking? A lot of times I compare that to like the driving on a long trip, so I did a 17-hour trip from Indiana to Texas, and then from Texas to Florida, and then back from Florida to Indiana. It was like 4 years ago. And I had 3 kids with me at the time. Oh. I wasn't alone, no. I had my friend Brittany with me. But
good.
Yeah. So I did. So I know when you're taking a long trip like that, it's really difficult. Like, whether you're 2 hours in or 10 hours in, it's really easy to just feel stuck. Like, you're not there. You're not here, but you're not there, and it feels like I'm still on this road. But when you actually look at all that, are we there yet? I hear that a lot. Fortunately, we now have iPads and iPhones. Thank goodness. But it's easy to think I'm just stuck in the middle of this journey. But if you really look at how many miles you've covered, it's like, oh, you're almost to your goal. We have to do that to kind of increase the endurance. And that's why I think, when we take these long trips, we're looking at our GPS, like, okay, I only have 3 more hours to go, or whatever it is. Otherwise, without that gauge, it would be really easy to just give up and say, I'm done with all this crap. So, yeah.
That's a tough spot to just quit in.
Yeah, well, no, take a plane. Leave everybody else there. I would do that. I'm just kidding.
Well, good comments.
So, yeah,
well, hey, Mark, comment about the never trust a 400-pound fitness trainer. Well, if he's 9 feet tall, might be okay.
Yeah. So let's see. When I played football, Mark says, our coaches would yell fourth quarter. We were tired and encouraged us to endure the pain because we knew that the other team would quit at this point. Pushing yourself in the fourth quarter helps you build endurance, continuing to give when you have nothing left. Yeah, it's that kind of like I see the end goal in sight, so I'm continuing. And then Brandon says the challenge is most people want the quick results and avoid the pain, which I don't know if that's, would you say that's most people?
I would say that's probably most people. I mean, few people really enjoy pain, so.
But they want the quick results, so they're
They
not
want the
willing to endure that, or do you think most people are fairly resilient?
I think most people are fairly resilient.
But they don't
However,
know it.
they don't necessarily know it.
Yeah, I used to be like that. I had a therapist once who was like, you say I can't a lot. And I was like, I didn't even recognize that I was doing that.
Yeah, we had you've made tremendous progress in that department, because I remember having those conversations.
But I had a therapist who pointed that out too. When I would, it's like with the kids, I would say, I can't do this or that. The other, and the therapist said, you say I can't a lot. And I,
okay, the next lesson for the day. Don't do that.
don't say I can't.
Don't say I can't.
So, Facebook user who I'm not sure who that is. Sorry. Success leaves clues and little hacks to help you get there quicker. Like airplanes instead of 17 hours of driving. But you know, the 17 hours of driving can be kind of fun. My favorite part of that was going through Louisiana, which I had never driven through before. And it was only like a little slice of Louisiana, but we went through it. And
did you get some gumbo?
Actually, I got some of that, whatever weird sausage they have there. I got some of that. No, there's a different thing.
Different
like,
sausage?
Yeah, it's like a weird sausage. They sell it like at all the gas stations and everything else.
It's made of alligators or something?
Probably alligator sausage. I don't know. If it's sausage, my son would eat it. He's like going through this crazy sausage obsession phase. We went to breakfast yesterday. He ate his sausage and forgot he ate his sausage and got mad, and then he had eaten his sausage. Okay. Sounds fun. Parenting. But that was my favorite part of that trip, was because it does. We went through some areas that were kind of marshy, and it was really cool and like just looked really neat. And I'd never been there, and it was fun. So I'd like to go back someday. But yes, success leaves clues and little hacks to help you get there quicker. And I think a lot of that comes with reflection. Just like we were talking about, reflection and thinking about what is it that I'm doing? What is my goal? Does it make sense that I'm enduring these things? Am I doing anything to increase my endurance? What have I learned from this process? And all of those things are how you find those little successes, I said. Brandon says, I hate when people say I can't. Well, I hate when people say I hate. So there.
I love when people say I can. How's that?
There you go. Sorry. Sometimes I have 5. Okay.
Say I can.
Yeah, I ask
try.
it, but no, the sentiment there is good, Brandon. I ask, is it I can't or I don't want to try? Sometimes it can really feel like I can't. It can really feel like I can't until you start thinking of the other options.
Yeah, we can almost always do more than we think we can. So
I like that quote. I don't know this person though.
I like that word.
Everything is figure-outable.
Figure-outable.
I know you would like that word. He's like regular Shakespeare over here, making up words all the time. All right.
But that's a good one. Figure-outable.
So, yeah. So I guess maybe the biggest takeaways from this is that success takes time, and endurance is a valuable tool, but it's not one you always need to use. Sometimes, like anything else, you can be enduring things that, don't need to be endured. So it reminds me of that story that's told way too much about the guy that's drowning and he asks God for help, and God sends there's the helicopter and the boat and all that, and he just keeps hanging out. It's like, you don't always have to be enduring that kind of stuff. So
That is a good example, actually. If you
Yeah.
haven't heard that story, it's pretty popular.
Most people have heard that story.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we're looking for the answer and it has been hitting us in the face.
Mhm. Yeah.
Gotta think.
Take the time, and that's one of the most important things. Is
Take
you
the
take the
time.
time to think. All right. Well, I think we can
All
let
right.
our viewers stop enduring this show.
Thank you for enduring this show,
We
all of you.
appreciate you, and share this show with other people because this might help somebody that is in a difficult place right now who doesn't really maybe even feel like they're enduring. It just feels like they're suffering.
Mm.
And I, having been there for a long time, I know that that can be a difficult place to be in. And sometimes you just need someone to kind of flip the switch a little bit and help you think about it differently. And it becomes a whole different situation. So, share.
So be that person who's helping others flip
Mhm.
that switch
And,
or asking for the help.
Right.
So either way, it's a good thing.
all right, we will see you guys on Wednesday. Like and share and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. We are trying to get our YouTube. We have a new channel on YouTube. It's the Greencow Show channel. You can subscribe to us there. So please subscribe, share our videos. We'd be very happy if you did that, especially if you're a sponsor. If you share, then people will see your advertisements. So win-win.
Hey, that's a good thing. Okay, do something really nice for somebody else and a whole bunch of people if you have the resources, and we will see you on Wednesday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.